every single one of you all over the planet. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show that runs every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Toronto time, 7 p.m. Calgary time, 6 p.m. Vancouver time, and something p.m. Dubai time. No idea, but we thank you about that. Thank you all for being here. We absolutely love the fact that you're joining us from all over the world. We're getting a lot of emails on this one ever since I put the advertising out for tonight's show in reference to forest fires, and this was the ad I put out. I stuck it on TikTok and Brighteon. I stuck it everywhere. Every social media piece we have, we stuck it out there. And the number of emails filled the box. There are people from all over the world who are asking, is this arson? So I'm going to refrain from giving you my opinion now. What we'll do instead is we're going to have a professional firefighter, someone who's an expert in forest fires, coming on the show in half an hour's time at 9:30 Toronto time, 7:30 Calgary time. He will be here to explain everything. Now, I've had a couple of private conversations with the man, and this guy is brilliant. And he's on our side. He is deeply concerned about the future of this country. And you know, as am I. And I know there's a lot of new faces here, a lot of new folks joining us tonight, some who've never seen the show before. In case you are wondering, I ran for mayor of my hometown of Mississauga twice. Placed 11th the first time, second the second time, and then I moved to Calgary because the province of Ontario is a Marxist leftist hellhole. I despise the place. And Alberta has, sweeter people. I'm going to admit that to you. It's a little bit more fun because of sweeter people. Now, the politics here are insane. And I mean crazy with a capital K. Huh. But I ran for mayor in Calgary. And the reason I bring this up is because our good friend Chris Sky, there's some news on him. Now, check this out, everyone. I've shown this photo before, and I'm going to show it again. There's a lot of people here. There were so many people here. The police, as you see them, had to shut down the roads everywhere that we walked with those signs. They had to shut the roads down. I had 11 of these big rallies, and they say that I only got 1,700 votes. I mean, think about that. Well, Chris Sky is running for mayor in Toronto. There we go. A little bit of Chris Sky news right now. Chris Sky was arrested again. Now, I had a very, very brief chat with him in text last night, and this was just to get a brief idea of what's going on. There's something out there called the Daily Bread Food Bank, and you know Chris, he's exactly like me. When he sees corruption, when someone's doing something illegal, Chris talks about it. And the president of the Daily Bread Food Bank was a little afraid that Chris might say something about him. So with that in mind, the guy went ahead and lied to the police and said Chris uttered threats. That is correct. Chris uttered threats, he says. Well, probably not. I doubt it. And Chris was told by Toronto police yesterday to turn himself in today at 7 a.m., which he's done. Doug Force confirmed that he is still rotting in a jail cell as the number one candidate for mayor of Toronto. Just like they did to me. You know, when I polled number one, they locked me up for 7 weeks. I really hope they don't lock Chris up for the rest of the election, but they might. That is how communist, Marxist Canada works. It is evil as hell here, and I highly recommend if you have the means, it might be time to consider going because it ain't getting better, and there is no political solution aside from to get him into office. And should I ever run again, get me into office. Big mouths who actually like people to do something for the country. Now, Stefanos, that's going to bring you in right now here because we got to do something for the country. And you have something to talk about to do with math and perversion. So please, you got the mic.
Yeah, so there is a school in St. Catharines. I won't say which one, but I was contacted.
Where's St. Catharines? We have a new audience.
Ontario. Sorry, St. Catharines, Ontario. And they have been, it's in the Niagara region. So they have been pushing this pronoun garbage, all this stuff on the students. So in math class, what they do is they play a video. Like in my day, we wouldn't watch videos for math. We would have a teacher teach you. So now they play a video, and as they're playing the video of the math, they have in the top corner, every time it shows a male or a female, it's putting their pronouns up. And when the teacher has the children answer the questions, they make them use pronouns now of the people on the video. So this has gotten way out of control. And in the last part of the month left of school here, they have been telling that this is where they're starting the pedo grooming to the 9-year-olds. So this is where they're starting it, just to end off the school year. So they're groomed nicely, so they're all set up for the next school year, and that they'll take off from there. And this way they're not going to be all that shocked. Coincidence that it's Pride Month, or Ed's got the right term, but is that a coincidence? No, that's definitely planned, and they're just pushing this full steam ahead.
Well, they are pushing it full steam ahead, and they don't seem to care that there are a ton of people who are not happy about it. Now, something that I will say is that Muslims and Christians have come together in the province of Ontario to protest this. Islam is dead set against this kind of behavior. And Christianity, especially Catholicism, is also not necessarily dead set against it, but certainly against it from the standpoint of it, of course, is not recommended in the Bible. Now, this does not mean that we hate anyone who's gay or lesbian or otherwise. I mean, we've got our good friend Ellie here, who actually was brave enough to get the surgery done to turn into a woman from a man. And our good boy Rio, who unfortunately couldn't join us tonight, the flamingest flamer in Alberta. We love the guy. No, we don't care about that stuff. What we care about is that the agenda is being pushed into our children's classrooms, and all the teachers seem to really be on board with this. That's the sick part of it. Stefanos, I have to actually, Pastor Artur Pavlovsky just gave me a call, so I got to call him right now. I want you to tell the story. You're up.
Which story?
You have an audio track that we have to hear. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have that all set up and queued. I didn't have time to get it going, but it was really good. Hopefully we can get that going another time. But yeah, this poor child is like.
Don't worry about it. No, Art said everything's fine. We're good.
All right.
Hey, Art, if you're watching, we love you, brother. We really do. All right. So the schools, let's cover this one here. I'm going to share something right now. I'm going to present. I'm still having trouble sharing the screen. I don't know why it's so tough to share a screen here. Here we go. Ottawa School Board. First off, this is the photograph that the article uses. What they want is every kid to have these on. And everyone's going to say that I'm fluid. And please ask me my pronouns before you speak to me. Good luck with that one. Like I'm ever going to ask anyone that question. And anyone who tells me that my pronouns are blah, 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 you know what I'm doing? I'm turning around and walking away. The conversation is over. They can watch my ass shake as it walks away. I'm done with this ridiculous nonsense. But here, yes, Ed.
Let's test that. My pronoun is Mr. Walk.
I have exactly 2.5 feet between the back of my head and this wall. Not walking anywhere.
So, Kevin, this fluid button, is that the one that these are fluid gender people, so I can be like female 1 second and 10 seconds later I'm a male?
Possibly. Hold on. Here's the article. All right. Ottawa School Board suggests teachers use they, them pronouns. Now, this is no longer a suggestion. This has passed. So in Ottawa here, superintendents at an Ottawa school board sent an email to all staff suggesting that they start the next school, not suggesting. All right, that's wrong. It's demanding they start the next school year using they, them pronouns for all students until told their preferred pronouns. It's also said teachings about LGBTQ identity should be embedded in the overall learning environment and are not open to debate or selective participation. So this is not, yeah, Michael, you're right. The pride flag is the new swastika. You're absolutely correct. This has nothing to do with inclusivity. Anybody who wants to be part of the crowd can be part of the crowd. You just have to be a decent human being. That's it. You know, and me, I've been in politics for a long time. I've been in the corporate game for a long time. Sure, I can talk to anyone and I can fit in most places. But believe me, when I see stuff that is egregiously gross, I'm gone. I'm out the door. I can't be a part of that kind of thing. And for those of you out there who are part of gross stuff like the radical leftist LGBTQs, you're not welcome. You're not welcome in decent society. You see, I got to reiterate everything to everyone, it seems. I know there's a lot of left-wingers watching the show because they're looking for reasons to be angry. But nobody cares what you do in bed. Nobody cares if you're gay. No one cares if you're bisexual. No one cares if you're straight. Nobody cares. Don't you get it? No one cares what your middle name is. Nobody cares what brand of underwear you wear. No one cares what your hip measurements are. No one cares about your bra size. No one cares what toothpaste you use. It's all the same. Shut up about it. Nobody has to hear it. We don't want to hear it. We certainly don't want to fly a flag, which is a symbol of hatred and intolerance now on any buildings that we are a part of. And, now that they insist on doing this on government buildings, all of us need to stop paying our taxes. What are we paying taxes for? The Canadian flag should be on all government buildings, followed by the Ontario flag in Ontario, the Manitoba flag in Manitoba, the Alberta flag in Alberta, followed by nothing else. That's it. Those are the two flags that we fly. The rest of it is nonsense. It's a cult. It really is a cult.
This is what I don't get, Kevin. So, and this is what we all need to understand here, is when the other side, they don't like something you say or they don't hear, they have police, you're getting arrested, you're getting sued. And I'm talking people in general. They defame everybody. Nobody does anything on the other side. That's the problem. And, this stuff in school that's going on right now is no longer learning, but what it is actual forced government speech. And that is unconstitutional to force anything that government wants on its citizens. So why do I not see any parents banding together, pooling up money, so money's not going to be an issue, throw one person's name on him, back him, take him to court on a constitutional question of what is being done here if that's forced government speech controlling your thought and your mind. It's no longer free thought of expression or anything like that. So government has gotten straight out of control here, period.
Well, they absolutely have. So I got to address a funny comment here. Twyla says, oh, I've talked underwear before. And Twyla, you're kind of cute, so you can talk underwear anytime you want. Nobody else can, okay? How's that sound? Oh, wait a minute, Twyla, you don't like men. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. I lose again. So, and by the way, Twyla, it's been over a year and a half since I've seen you in person. Let me know when you're in Calgary next, okay? The coffee's on me. So, this recording you have you got it queued up? Are you ready?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, we're going to have to save it, man. I'm going to have to save this part for another show or something.
Fine. Then what I need you to do is tell us what's in the recording. Okay. It's a recording of a 9-year-old girl.
Yes.
And she was complaining to her parents about all the crap that's being forced on her in school. Please go ahead.
Yes. So even the little children at 9 years old recognize this is not being right for them to be being subjected to it. And the girl was saying about how uncomfortable it's made her. Another child stated that they were traumatized by it. These are the words of the child telling me. This is what is all in there. And I guess one of the teachers asked another boy to begin with the pronouns, and they just absolutely refused to do it. So we're starting to get parents with some common sense and civility left teaching their children to push back against this right in the classroom. So what do you Doug Ford's the PC's bill, I can't remember which bill it was, but what are they going to do now? Fine the children for, remember that stupid bill, subconsciously having racist thoughts, that they were going to start fining children. So what are they going to classify them homophobic or racist or misogynist and just start fining little 9-year-olds now? where this ends, there is no end to it. That's the whole key in this. There is no end to what they'll do next.
I've had way too much experience with the Canadian legal system and the Canadian political system. And I can tell everybody right now, it is not going to end. It's not like they're all going to say, oh, wait a minute, what we've been doing is wrong. This has destroyed the economy. This has destroyed education. This has destroyed the lives of children and the futures of everybody, where our country is so awful now that the only solution we have to the elderly and the sick is to kill them, but make it seem like it's their idea by offering it to them free of charge. Yeah, no, there is no solution to this at all. And they won't correct their behavior. They're going to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. There are solutions. We can't discuss them here, unfortunately, because we know damn well if we tell the truth, well, CSIS will kick the door in. Right? So we know that. And all of us have a CSIS file. And we know the Royal Canadian Mounted Police watches every episode of this show. Yeah, we know because they've said that they do in disclosure. But they've also said that I'm no threat. They also said that I'm too cheery, right? That Johnston's too happy. He's not a threat to anyone. So, well,
it's true. You're not a threat. I've known you for a long time. You've never threatened or done anything against anyone.
I don't. I remember being young. I remember being young and angry at the world. So, 21, 22, if I was challenged to a fight in a bar, I would probably take it. But I hit about maybe, say, I don't know, 35, I guess. And my kids would have been around age 5. And I thought, the only thing that matters is them. What do I care about anyone's thought processes, anyone's opinions? And what do I even care if someone takes a poke at me? I mean, I'm certainly willing to take a punch in the face and ask for an apology. But I'm not going to retaliate and get into a fist fight in a bar, a grocery store, a library, or otherwise. What I can say is I'm happy that I know how to fight, because I've had to fight Antifa off 6 times now. 6 times. And I have a knife wound scar to show for it. So, but it was all defensive. Even the police said that. Whenever Kevin gets into an altercation, he's only defensive. So, okay, I've been analyzed by the RCMP. Thank you. No one asked. Nobody asked.
Free of charge.
So, Hamza, is that how I say it? Hamza? I learned some of the school principals across Ontario have been accused of pedophilia and sexual misconduct. Oh, probably many. Probably very, very many. My grade 8 teacher, Mr. Mark Ferruccio, was a pervert. He was fueling up all the girls all the way through my time in grade 6, 7, and 8. Everyone knew this guy would walk around. He was tall and lanky, about 6'2", skinny, and he was always like bending down so he could get his crotch onto girls' butts. And we're talking grade 7 and 8 year olds, grade 7 and 8 students. He was always hugging them, always touching them, always grabbing them. And we, the boys, kept saying, that guy's a pervert. And none of the female teachers in that school, that St. Gerard's School on McBride Avenue in Mississauga, not one female teacher ever come out and said, hey, Mark, what you're doing is wrong. They were all too busy defending their salaries and their jobs. So, Hamza, probably more than we think. Yeah, I mean, Tony Pontes, the previous board of directors, the president, of the board of directors of the Peel District School Board, he was accused of it. What did he do? He stepped down. No investigation, because he doesn't work there anymore.
Why isn't this teacher president of the United States right now?
What? Sorry, what? Huh?
This teacher you just described should be president of the United States by this way he acts.
Well, you'd think so.
Who knows? So. Maybe the Americans are watching us, and he'll be on the Democratic ballot. If Biden falls down any more times, something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, but Ed, come on, you got to be fair to Biden here. He's only sniffing them, all right? He's not resting his stuff on the girls' butts. Maybe behind him, but you never know when he's sniffing them.
I'm just saying, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
Sarcasm.
Yeah, but Stephanos, we have discussed many times that sarcasm is the lowest form of communication available to anyone. Sarcasm. I used to do stand-up comedy, man, and sarcasm ain't funny. And whenever people are sarcastic with me, I deliberately take their sarcastic statement literally, and they'll get exactly the reverse of what they want from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think sarcasm is it's venomous, it's vitriolic, it's nasty, it's designed to be hurtful, it's horrid. But we forgive you only because you make me look good by comparison.
See, I'm the comic relief. That's why I'm here.
There we go. Oh yes, Hesham remembers. I used to call Tony Pontes the most useless man in Canada. Believe me, he was. Yeah, he was. And Tony Pontes, it was on camera. It's on my BitChute channel. You got to go all the way back to 2017. I think the end of 2017. It's there where he decides to assault a 17-year-old kid who was my protege, my cameraman. He didn't want the camera on him. He went whack, broke the camera. Oh yeah, Tony Pontes. I remember him. Scumbag. Yeah, I sued that guy. Anyway, so we have no recording. Ed, my understanding was that Vlad is coming in.
Yeah, he told me he'd be in around 9:20, 9:25. I'll call him right now.
He is late because we've got our fireman showing up in 4 minutes. So Vlad had an announcement to make about Father's Day, which we're always very, very happy about. Hamzid says, we have a protest coming up this week against Soji and Antifa. It's Antifa, they always show up. Hamza, they always, because they're paid to. They're losers. They have nothing else in this lifetime. We're talking about biological males, we think, who were born without genitalia, we're sure, and they have nothing else to do because they don't have anything to play with, as they say. So yeah, they're going to show up. We have 30 people showing up to protest, and Antifa wants to disrupt it. All right. So Antifa, everybody, the best thing in the world to do with them, don't talk to them. Let them shout. Film them. Let them shout like the maniacs that they are. Vlad is here. Vlad, how you doing, buddy?
How's it going, gentlemen?
Fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. You got a couple of minutes here, so rifle through it. What do you want to tell us?
So, if people don't know, this Sunday is a Father's Day. Father's Day is actually celebrated on same Sunday pretty much around the world, comparing to Mother's Day, where Mother's Day is different days on different months, etc. Long story short, what I want to do is I want to elevate men in our society. I think it's very obvious what's been going on for the last, definitely last 10 years, but it started even earlier. Where men pretty much been under attack, and the end outcome is what we see happening in the last 3 years. There's literally a handful of men willing to stand up for what is right, and then willing to sacrifice if necessary for doing the right thing. So because this has been one of the biggest challenge, I think most people would agree, having people like that within the movement, I want to focus on that. I want to focus on helping unite the strong men that we do have in this country, and then create a support system to elevate other men. Because obviously people are exposed to different challenges and situations, and some of us might have a skill set, some of us might have a personality or charisma, or all those things combined to help us, push through whatever challenges we have, but other men don't, right? Like Stefanos is a great example. He's been supporting me tremendously in my custody battle to give my son back, and I'm thankful so much to his commitment to my and my child's freedom. And the point is, I'm going to create a support system so then we can have donations coming in. So then Stefanos and other people who have that skill set, they can be compensated for doing this work. Because guess what I'm doing? I'm self-represented, and I'm prepared, and I'm calm, and I'm collected because I've been coached. I've been coached with my own work. And then I have Stefanos and other people providing me with support like that. So then I can go into the court and be self-represented. And guess what? Especially in the family court matters, you are actually better off self-representing rather than getting a lawyer. Because when you speak about your own children and everything that's going on, that's personal for you, especially if you are fighting for your children like myself. The judge, they will see, as corrupt as they are, it's going to be very difficult for them to put you in a position where you're at a disadvantage. They might still try, but you'll have a better chance. So basically, it is last minute because it's already this coming Sunday, but I still want to start. I want to start with a men's parade on Father's Day, started Nathan Phillips Square, and I want to encourage all men to gather with as many as you can this Father's Day at 1 p.m. in your local city hall, and come with a sign. Fathers are essential. That's the new initiative that I'm launching. Fathers are essential. And the idea, again, is unite the strong men that we do have in this country. And I know we have a lot. We just haven't really been organized to work together yet. So I want to take a lead on that. And at the same time, to create a support system of empowerment and encouragement for men. Same thing that I've been doing with Hugs and Masks, where I was helping families to come together, with Will Essential, where I was helping business owners to come together. And now I'm going to focus on the most essential aspect of a healthy and strong society, and there is strong fathers.
Well, strong fathers are an absolute must. I'll share the scary thought with you from the United States, and this was released last year, is that 80% of men who are incarcerated in the United States are the product of a single parent, being the mother. Whereas less than 10% of those incarcerated in the United States are a product of a two-parent family. And you'll love this one. It's the exact same stat for single father families, because there is a difference in the way that children are going to react to men.
Yeah.
It's how it is. 250,000 years of evolution is not going to be beaten because a couple of radical feminists out there say that, well, we don't like men and men aren't necessary. Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? How about all those 30 and 35 and 40-year-old women who have never been married? All their friends have kids and they're happy and jolly and they're at home eating ice cream, making stupid videos on TikTok. I'm 40 years old. Am I so bad? And all these loser beta cucks. Oh, no, you're beautiful. I want to be your boyfriend. Are you kidding me? Come on. No. Ladies, we men, we are a pain in the ass. I am the first one to admit that, but we are necessary. We absolutely are necessary. Vlad, I think you agree.
100%. And that's the point, guys. If you think about it, is when king falls, kingdom falls next. And that's exactly what we're witnessing right now in the society. There's no way any of this would have happened even 10 years ago, because more men would have stood up and said, not on my watch. And it is what it is. We just have to dig ourselves out of this deep hole that we created. We have to take responsibility and we have to be proactive in our actions. And I'm willing to do this. So again, we're going to start with this Sunday, first men's parade in honor of Father's Day. But guess what? I want to do this every single 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, every Sunday, we're going to get men gathered together in front of the city hall. And I want to do it for this whole summer. So who is ever interested to collaborate with me and help me to create this movement of strong men, strong fathers, especially in the country of Canada, let's do this, guys. Let's come together every 2 Sundays in front of the city hall and have a strong men's parade. We can be dressed in our uniforms from our work. We can be dressed in suits. Can you imagine strong, powerful men dressed to the T, marching the streets of the city? That will make a statement bigger than anything out there.
It certainly will. You know, I don't know. Do you think, guys, for all the men in the chats, and I am watching Rumble, D Live, and Facebook chats tonight, if you think it's a good idea to get a backyard boxing club going here and in Calgary, I mean, let's do it. We got to be masculine again.
Yes,
we all have to become hyper masculine. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's masculinity, and then there's loser guys who will never be masculine. That's it. We need to make less of those and more of the four of us here. Right, there we go.
You better check into the legal implications of the boxing match in the backyard, all right?
There won't be any gambling, so the Securities Commission can't bother me.
So how great would it be if we had people from every religion, every political walk of life getting together to show the government?
And that's the idea. That's the idea. It's going to be non-secular. We're going to invite Muslim brothers. We're going to invite Christian brothers. We're going to invite Jewish brothers. And everyone comes together in solidarity to stand for what is right. Because the reality is the depopulation agenda is not against blacks or whites. The depopulation is against slave class. Unless we, the people, rise up, they want to exterminate us, right? And that's pretty much what they're focusing on.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. That's what this is all about. That's what 15-minute cities are all about too. Is clipping the nuts off of our men and making our women more miserable and more unbearable. Because when women are trapped in a house for a great deal of time, trust me, I know I was married for 21 years. All right, they lose it, right? They do. So we're going to beat each other's throats with these 15-minute city concepts. Men need stuff to do too. I mean, I know that a man is a lot more prone and apt and happy to be in front of the computer for 16 hours playing a video game with a beer. He's in his bliss mark. But believe me, a year of that, and he's going to snap too. We're all going to snap. So, Vlad, you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. I just want to make a
together.
comment. I just want to address the comment. So, you know, and again, I want to empower people to do whatever they feel is right. But at the same time, the protest that's happening in front of the
Hey, sorry, guys, to cut you off. Chris Sky just got out of jail, everybody. All right, there you go. Chris Sky, he just texted me now. He just got out. Woo! So, yeah, I'll just quickly
That's
send
awesome.
a note there.
That's
Brother,
great
if
news.
you want to come in and tell your story, I sent you the link by email. All right, everyone. So Chris Sky is out.
Amazing.
Again,
I just want to address quickly all the protests that are happening right now in front of the different libraries, etc. It's almost like they want us to come and fight with them on their battleground. I'm going to create a movement where we're going to make a sound just by marching the streets with strong men, right? So it's not going to be because of whatever noise is going out there. We just come in and we're claiming the territory that's rightfully ours. Okay, this is our country, these are our cities, and these are our children. And it's non-negotiable. We don't negotiate with terrorists. That's it.
Yeah, well, our entire government are terrorists.
Well, more people know it now than before.
Thank God for that.
And
Yes.
one more time, if people want to get involved, where do they get a hold of you? Find out about events, times.
Yeah. So basically, we're going to keep it very simple for this Sunday. All men just come together at the city hall, especially if you separate from your children on this Father's Day. This is a great opportunity to come and stand with other men in a similar situation, or at least other men that are willing to support you for what you're going through. So every city hall across the country of Canada, 1 p.m., show up with a sign which says fathers are essential, and just identify with other people and come together. And we're going to do it the next 2 weeks Sunday, which will be the July 2nd, which will be right after the Canada Day. And that's going to be a great opportunity for us, again, to stand together and honor this country and honor the future that we have to defend and protect.
Vlad, how do people find you online?
The best thing would be is on Facebook. Look for my name, Vladislav Sobolev. On Instagram, I'm Coach Vlad. And Telegram is Hugs Over Masks is the main channel. If you want to email me, it's hugsnation2020@gmail.com, hugsnation2020@gmail.com. You can also text me. Text is the only way you can contact me. It's 416-836-9643. 416-836-9643. Send me a text message.
Vlad, type all that up for me if you could. Drop me an email, and I'll stick that in the description of all of the replays of the video, because this is going to be on, 40 plus Facebook pages, BitChute,
Awesome.
Brighteon. It's going to be everywhere. Thanks for being here, brother. Great.
Thank you so much. God bless.
All right, man. Take care.
See you, Vlad. Kevin.
Vladislav. All right. Always good to see him. Man, oh man. So everybody, I got to address the Rumble room now. I know that Rumble's where the biggest audience is because, well, Crackbook, Zuckerberg, Cuckbook, whatever you want to call it, they are constantly threatening me to shut me down. I got another threat today. You're in danger of losing your page if you don't agree with the pedophile agenda. Ugh. That's what it sounds like. So on Rumble, I see that the chat room is incredibly active, and I'm looking for statements that I can copy and paste for everyone. But the problem with Rumble, it works off of a separate RTMP system than Facebook does. That is why Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and a couple of others will actually pop up. The like this, for example. I can put Hesham's comment up because he's on Facebook. But there's always the danger that Facebook is going to throw us out again. So in the Rumble chat, everyone, I am looking. If you guys have questions, by all means, drop over there. And you can always catch us as well on DLive, because I don't trust Facebook. And I will not be putting any more memes or jokes or, controversial statements on any of my Facebook pages at all. So if you guys wanted to get the gist of what's on my mind, I'll put that stuff up on Gab. Join Gab, guys. It's free. I've got 5,000 followers there. I've been on Gab for a while. There you go. Gab.com/Kevin J. Johnson. Follow me there because they have never censored me once, but I don't say anything really that's worth censoring. I truly don't. Anyway.
See my microphone here? So
that looks like a cat's tail.
Oh, it might be. All
and
right.
I'm wondering why there's a cat's ass so close to your face.
It's just walking around on me. I can't do anything about it. But I wanted to address, Hashem made an excellent comment about he had never heard of toxic masculinity since before the liberals got in. But this is the division. This is the divide they create between the sexes. What's the other one they made? Femicide, because men are just, born because they want to just do in all the women and just get them out of the lives. This is the insanity of the government. We got to ignore that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'll finish up my thought here on Rumble. Anyway, guys, I cannot get the Rumble chat room into StreamYard, which is our broadcast software. Not yet. We are looking for a solution for the chat room to be more involved, but thank you all for being in there. And ladies, for those of you who don't quite get it, we men, you accuse us of only wanting you for sex and we only want one thing and so on. No, the average guy, the thinking man out there really would like companionship. The sex is a bonus. We really would like to have that best friend that we can do absolutely everything with, someone that we know has our back even when we screw up, and praises us publicly, which is the better thing for you to do. Yeah, that is what men really want. Ignore what the feminists say. All right, they'll say that we hate women and we want to subjugate them and we want to own them. And so, nope, that is not true at all. It never entered my head once in my life to own a woman, period. And I don't know a single man who thinks that way either. So, and we got a Cornwall. Hello, Patricia. Thanks for being here. Let's get Scott Rayner on the show. Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and it's a good reason to be here, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Oh no, thanks for being here. Really, the pleasure is all ours. You are a pro fireman. Tell us the story. Tell us who you are. Tell us the story.
I've got 18 years on the fire department, specialized in wildland fire. And just previous to COVID, early 2019, I started talking about some of the wildland fires that were going on down in California and BC. And it kind of got me into some hot water with my chief and CAO of the municipality that I worked for. So shortly after that, we all know COVID came in and all those new mandates, and I was basically pushed out, and they lost an 18-year veteran. So I've still been working. What I've been doing the past month or so, I'm working with communities to try to get them prepared for what's happening in Alberta, and Nova Scotia is coming to Ontario, and it's already started in Ontario. So I'm very passionate about it. And I hope that I can bring some information and knowledge to your listeners.
All right, well, let's start with it. Everybody, now, it's been a couple of weeks since these fires have been burning. Now, the consensus with the public is it is arson. Let's get your thoughts on that.
Well, I have no doubt that it is, but where's the evidence? And something that I noticed early on back in 2019, 2020 with the fires in BC, Alberta, Fort McMac is a prime example. They don't do any investigation. And I've been involved with quite a few major wildland fires in my community, fires that we had to bring water bombers into. But we as firefighters, we found the origin and we determined the cause. And that doesn't happen anymore. And that's there, and for so many fires to start at one time, you may have one fire start in BC, but what are we seeing now in Alberta? There was multiple fires. In Nova Scotia, there was multiple fires. In Quebec, there was multiple fires started simultaneously, and that just doesn't happen through nature. So we can say, and I could say that it's arson. And I believe there's a lot of evidence, especially in Alberta, that it's arson. But if you don't have the top brass investigating the cause to determine the cause, then you don't get that evidence. And mainstream media, of course, never goes that way. It's just we have multiple fires, but there's never a cause. So,
well, the cause that Trudeau and the mainstream media are saying is that it's climate change, something that we all know is impossible. Human beings cannot change the weather.
Well,
Unless, of course, we have go ahead.
We could talk for hours about climate change and that nonsense. And I'm going to tell you, climate change in early, this started in May in Alberta and early June in Nova Scotia. And in the early spring, we do have very drought conditions. We've had grass fires, major grass fires, 2 days after the snow is gone. It doesn't take too long to dry out the ground. And but to have multiple fires, that's unnatural. It's scientifically impossible for that to happen. But this is what they're doing, right? You have to understand. Follow the Agenda 2030. Okay, so it all goes back to that, and they want people off rural lands. And how are they going to get them off the rural lands and into the 15-minute white man's reserve? And that's what they're bringing. A 15-minute city is a white man's reserve. They're going to burn us out. And they've been testing for years. They tested in California back in 2018, 2019. I viewed the videos and the photos of those fires, and it is just insane. You cannot have a structure burned down with a car with the aluminum melted and a tree 15 feet away with not a scorched leaf. Okay, it just doesn't make it. It's impossible. So we know that they're playing games. Like it's arson. It's direct energy weapons. I could mention a number of things that it can be. But what I'm here for is, number one, to discuss that it is a huge threat for us all in every province, and then to discuss what we can do to try to save our properties and our communities.
Well, we should let's talk about that, because one of the scariest things that's going on in Alberta is there are fires that are nowhere near the Leduc Airport, which is Edmonton's airport, or the town of Leduc, or right now in Edmonton. But they're saying that you can't go home anyway. The RCMP are setting up roadblocks everywhere. They are not letting landowners back on their own land. But there was more that we talked about personally. So what is it exactly that people are not allowed to do on their own properties? Go ahead.
Well, I'm not on their own properties. Well, if you evacuate, that's the first mistake you're going to make. But some people are forced to evacuate because they have no choice, because they can't protect the property around them. And if you've been involved in a wildfire such as I have, it's like a fire tornado. Okay, when you get high winds and you get an intense wildfire, it's in the top of the trees, and it's just like you may have to leave. And what's happened in Alberta is when they are told to leave, they're given not very much time. So what I found in Alberta, talking to a lot of people, is they waited till the last minute to call the evacuation, so as the people grabbed very little and they ran. And then when they came back into their homes, okay, they were saved and they went back home. There were certain things missing from their homes. And I have no trouble saying it. Firearms were the number one thing.
That's right.
That were missing.
That has been reported in Alberta for the last 2 years now, at least, that the RCMP walk into people's houses who have evacuated and take their guns.
Okay. And then what else is the RCMP guilty of? Okay. So they're putting up roadblocks. So what saved our communities in the past from wildfires and devastation was communities getting together and working together. Okay, we worked together. We were united. Now we know that we're all divided now, but I'm working with united communities. And in the past, the men would get together and they would fight the fires. The women would get together, prepare meals, do all the other stuff to support those men that were out fighting the fires. But now the RCMP is stopping that. Okay, they will not let you go and help your neighbor. Many people ran into roadblocks trying to get to their neighbors with water trucks, portable pumps, portable hoses, whatever they needed to go and help protect their properties. And they were stopped by the RCMP. That's a crime against humanity. I'm sorry, it is. In the past, I can remember in my early days of firefighting, we had civilians help us fight fires because we were shorthanded. So the RCMP, what they are doing now, these are the ground boys, right? This comes from the top down. top brass down. It's no different in when the Fort McMac fires happened, right? That fire chief, not too long after, he resigned. He had to get out because he knew those fires were arson, but he wasn't allowed to investigate, right? When those fires were going on in Fort McMac, all these firefighters in Ontario that were wildland specialists were saying, when are we getting the call to go and help? Nope, we're not calling you. They called people, I believe, if I can remember correctly, from South Africa or something. Why would you bring firefighters from South Africa? They don't know how to fight forest fires in our country with the boreal forest that we have. You know why they bring them in? Because they keep their mouth shut. They don't speak. They don't speak to reporters or anything. There's just so much crime that's going on. And like, you know, with the RCMP, there was ranchers who were bringing their livestock trailers, trying to get to their neighbors to get livestock off the property, and the RCMP were blocking them. There was groups of firefighters, communities, okay? They were trying to go and get more fuel for their portable pumps, and the RCMP were roadblocking them. Now, we can't let this happen. Like, you know, and we say, well, how are we going to stop it? Well, for myself, I've got a plan, okay? I've still got a green light in my vehicle. I got my fire gear. Like, you know, I'm going to, if I come across a roadblock when I'm going to help my communities or neighbors or whatever, I'm a volunteer firefighter. Get the fuck out of my, get out of my way.
Yeah, I get you. I understand.
But I'm serious. You just, you know, and we do have evidence, and I've heard that people did get through the roadblocks, right? You like, you know, we can't bow down. We have to draw our line in the sand. We have to stand up.
It's tough considering that we know that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, if you drive around one of their roadblocks, they'll send 2 or 3 squad cars after you. They'll radio in, they'll call your plate up and probably just shoot you. And I'm sorry. I have no trust in the police force at all. I've got too much experience with the RCMP, and it's never been good. It's never been pleasant. The only time it's pleasant with the RCMP is after they've beat you up, after they've yelled and screamed like maniacs, after they've got you in the police station. They know the video cameras are on, so that's when they become polite. Oh, so Mr. Johnston, what's your date of birth? They become very nice when they know they can get sued for behaving improperly inside the station. Aside from that, I don't see a reason for that police force to even be in Alberta. I really don't. They're loyal to Ottawa. They're not loyal to where they're working.
Well, if the new premier of Alberta was wise, she would get rid of the RCMP and bring in their own policing. Like, you know, why do you have RCMP? Like, we don't have RCMP in the area I'm in. We have the OPP. They're just as bad as the RCMP. They're just as corrupt from the top down, the brass down. But they're part of the cause of some of the devastation that's happened in Alberta, Nova Scotia, and Quebec. You know, they were stopping people from going to help, and they don't think that people are capable of helping. Well, of course they are. You know, I'm busy now working with 4 communities, and we're putting together 2 forestry trailers. So it'll have portable pumps, hose, nozzles, chainsaws, all the equipment that we need to fight and protect property. And the other thing that I'm doing, I'm going around to community meetings. I was in Cameron last night, and I go to different communities and I say, how can you protect your property? Right? And that's another thing. This is one thing that we got to touch on. Number 1, don't vacate your property. Don't evacuate. But before you don't evacuate, you got to do some housekeeping on the outside of your property, right? You got to keep the outside of your house as clean as the inside of your house is. Hopefully your house is clean. So that means you need a perimeter, minimum 50 feet around your structure that you're trying to protect. And you got to clean up. You got to remove all the fine and medium fuels. That's what starts the fire, right? It's the ground. It's the ground fuel. Right. And if you have a lot of
dry leaves and dry
leaves, needles, twigs, down trees, if you have brush piles like close to your structure and vegetation close to your structure, clean it away. Right. Keep it clean. OK, green doesn't burn. OK, good black soil doesn't burn. But if you have a soil that's very dry, it's like a duff. It's like mossy and very dry and powdery. That catches fire very easy. So So at the beginning of the fire, okay, you got the head of the fire. It starts. There's an origin that we can always trace back. We can always trace back to where this fire started, and we can find a determination and cause. So you have the head of the fire, and it moves forward, and it almost moves like a V. but it all depends on the wind speed and all that. But what happens when it intensifies and that fire gets into the treetops and you get some increased winds? That's when you get embers flying. So then you have what's called spot fires. So you could have an ember can travel 1.4 to 1.8 kilometers. So if you have a good strong wind, an ember could travel that far and light a spot fire in front of it. So that's where you may be. And if your property is clean and green, then that ember is not going to be a cause of a spot fire in your property. Another thing you have to do.
This, I mean, what about having 50 feet of tamped tamped stone, like limestone or crushed or cobble?
Perfect. That's the best of all. But even if you don't have that and you have grass, keep your grass green. A lot of people wait and they're like, the grass will turn brown, right? And then they get into drought conditions. And then all of a sudden you may have a forest fire coming, and then you're going to try to green up your property. Please, water, sprinkler your property every night, a perimeter 50 feet around your house. Even if you don't think you have to, if you keep that dampness, that moisture in the ground, okay, then you have a much better chance of protecting your property. But if you wait until you're already into drought conditions where you're duff, and that's below the soil, okay, that's below the soil, and if it is dry, then you are going to have a harder time in trying to get moisture into that ground, because fires travel underground as they do above ground. So you get certain soil conditions, the fire can travel underground. You can have a lightning strike, and maybe a week or 2 weeks later, the fire will pop up out of the ground because it burns underground. There have been fires burning in BC underground. They smolder all winter, and in the spring, when dry conditions come up, they pop up. So what are the causes of fire? You have nature, which could be lightning, right? You could have some disasters such as downed wires, down hydro lines, start fires. And then you have accidental campfires, and then you have arson. But we can determine what it was. We've traced back fires to a campfire. We've traced back fires to hydro lines. We've traced back fires to what did I say? I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I'm trying to
get to arson points. I mean, what if someone had a can of gas? Could you track it?
Yes. Yeah. Because if you have a fire, just start here, and there's not a campfire, it wasn't a burn barrel, it wasn't lightning, then obviously it was arson. Has to be arson. Somebody lit the fire. We've traced back fires to a cigarette butt.
Wow.
So we can do that, but that's not happening now. So the most important thing that I would really like to say is that to protect your properties, you have to do it ahead of time. And what I'm doing right now, and what I'm promoting to all my community, because I'm involved in a lot of different communities, and I'm saying get an action plan in place. It's very hard to fight a fire by yourself. But if you clean up your property and you keep the moisture content in the ground, you keep your east troughs cleaned up, and you have a sprinkler system, and I have a sprinkler system. Okay. So I've spent a shitload of money, but I've got industrial sprinklers, and my portable pump arrives on Thursday, and I'm going to have my whole property sprinklered. So I'm going to be doing that on a nightly or bi-nightly. I'm going to keep the moisture in the ground. And then if fire does come, I just fire that pump up, and my property is going to be fully sprinklered, and it's protected. And that's how we protect ourselves, because I'm not leaving my home. I'm not, because number one, I don't want to lose it. And number two, I don't trust, because it's going to be open to theft. Who's going to come in, right? When you evacuate your home. And it's a bad thing, but this is something that we really have to pay attention to, because it's a great threat. Because as I mentioned earlier, the Agenda 2030, we all know that. Maybe some of you don't, but we all know they want us off rural property. And they're this is one way that they're going to get us off. And we have to, and they're preventing us even from trying to stop it. And that's where we come into it. And there's a lot of us former firefighters who have got together, and we are going to be going out and we're going to be helping our neighbors in different communities. We're getting them set up with sprinkler systems, and we're teaching them how to clean up their property and to protect themselves, because it's devastating. And I just heard, and I really can't confirm, Kevin, but I've heard that coming down the pipe, insurance companies, number one, they said that if you evacuated your home, they're not going to cover you for fire loss, and I can't verify that. And number two, I've heard that it is going to come down, if you're living in a high risk fire zone, they're going to drop your fire insurance. Well, if they drop your fire insurance and you have a mortgage, you don't have a mortgage no more.
You're
You
right.
have to have fire insurance to have if you have a mortgage. So
You're
this
right.
is how
You're
they're
right.
going to get people off the we have to think and discuss these things, because these things, I have a clear understanding of who the enemy is, and it goes far beyond our borders. However, it's just like we can't whatever the word I'm looking for is, we can't just put aside the worst that they could possibly do. And burning us out, it's at the top of their list, and they're testing it, and it seems to be working in some areas. But I know that Alberta and some of the people out in Alberta, they had some success because they did, they were prepared. I know certain individuals out there, and their property was protected because they prepared themselves. They had their portable pumps. They wet everything down. They cleaned everything up, and the fire basically didn't reach their properties or hit their properties. We can protect that, and it's not easy, but it's a little bit of planning ahead can save a whole lot of heartache and loss. Definitely loss.
Well, for sure. Okay, so we have Stefanos Karatopoulos and Mike Martins here. Gentlemen, first off, Stefanos, you're on a farm, and Mike, you're kind of in a small town, kind of in the middle of kind of nowhere, surrounded by tons of trees. So I'd like to maybe get Stefanos, your take first on your farm and what you can do or what you have done to protect what you've got. Go ahead.
Well, as I said before, we used to just burn everything, so there would be nothing out there to burn. And they've banned that. They've stopped that. So that's a problem in itself. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that, brother. Back prior to 1990, Natural Resources, and I'm not sure what it's called in Alberta, but they used to do what's called controlled burns, and they would go out and they would do forest management. Okay, they would manage the forests. So anywhere in the infrastructure or communities, they would do controlled burns, and they stopped that probably late 80s. And that's a huge factor, what you just said. And it's another thing that we can do on our own properties is if we have a fire, approaching or whatever, we can do a controlled burn around our property. Let's say you haven't kept your property moist and with the moisture in the ground, do a controlled burn. You get garden hose out and you burn a perimeter around your house, and you make it black, because black doesn't burn. When we go to fight fires, we fight from the black. So that is a huge important fact. But what they're doing though is they're putting on fire bans. So in Ontario right now, we have an Ontario-wide fire ban. Now, we just had the last 2 days, we had 3 inches of rain. I've got puddles in my yard, yet we have a fire ban. So when they put that fire ban on, and it'll stay on, you're not going to be able to do a controlled burn around your property, or they're going to be there trying to find you. That's those. See how they get around it? They're parasites.
And
Go ahead, brother.
What they'll do on top of it is, if you do try to do any burn, or sometimes even just a fire, they will send the fire department in. They'll put it out, and then they'll charge you tens of thousands of dollars for getting them out.
Okay,
Yes.
I got to cover that one. You're correct. I had 2 fire trucks show up at my place when I lived in Mississauga. They showed up at my place. It was October 28th. Now, could you think of what might have been in my backyard on October 28th? Could it be maybe a massive fog machine because I was testing it for Halloween? Yeah, that's what it was. 2 fire trucks showed up because someone said I lit my backyard on fire. They showed up. They sent me a bill in the mail for $1,500 that I then had to fight in court. Now, it got thrown out. Thank God for that. But yeah. because someone else, and I asked, like, guys, why don't you go? I know who called. Go to her house and give her the ticket, or give her a ticket, or arrest her, or something. Because anyway, go on, Mike. Sorry, you're in Merritt, BC.
Yep, I'm in. Just completely surrounded by mountains and beautiful mountains and forests and lots of lakes. One thing I do want to kind of throw out there, I think it's crucially important, is make sure you have contents insurance on your things, and make sure you have I went to renew my insurance and update my insurance. I even sent an appraiser to my house because I wanted to make sure I had act of God and land over reach or some weird insurance that make sure you go through your insurance policy, make sure you are covered for fire or act of God, because most insurance companies are getting out from paying people by saying, well, you didn't have act of God. That's only if your neighbor starts a fire and burns your house down, then we'll cover you. But no. So you got to make sure you got to read line for line and make sure with your insurance company that you have fully updated and you're fully covered, especially for contents. If you're a renter, make sure all your contents are insured properly.
Yeah, it's very good.
I'll add to that. If you do have to leave your home, make sure you take your most precious assets with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because someone's going to find a way to steal them. I mean, otherwise, I don't know how many people have a safe in their basement. I don't know how many people build secret rooms in their basements, but you should all start considering that. If you have anything that actually has high monetary value, gold, silver, platinum, like whatever you might, old stocks, debentures, whatever it is, you want that stuff hidden. I mean, how much of it can you really drag in a hurry? How much do you want to drag out in a hurry?
So with that said, Kevin, see, this is what they're doing because they're waiting to the last minute to evacuate people, so they don't have time to take that with them. So this is where, like, and even newscasts, like a lot of people have in Alberta, there was people calling their friends and saying there's a fire, get home. And they said, what fire? I haven't even heard about a fire. So, like, they're not being notified about it on purpose so that they have little time to grab what they need out of their house. And I mentioned earlier one of the most important things that they're trying to grab. And, we know that they're trying to disarm Canada. And I wish I had some firearms, but if I did, that's the number one thing that went in my vehicle if I did have to evacuate. But I try not to evacuate your best. And like there are situations where you're going to have to. And that's that's a fact of life. But if you prepare a little bit ahead of time, maybe you could just tell the people coming to say evacuate, say, no, I'm on my own. I got my portable pumps. I got my water supply. Move on to the next person. And many pretty much pee off.
I'd like to reflect on what you said there about don't evacuate. I don't know who remembers this, but in my hometown, the city of Mississauga, 1979, there was a massive train derailment where they said,
there.
Yeah, you were there. All right, I
was working in the center, the evacuation center. I was serving food.
Okay, so then you're a little older than I am, because I think I was in grade 3 when I got a week off school because we had to evacuate. We went down to the next town over, Oakville, but there were more than 20 houses in my neighborhood that had been broken into when the evacuation had taken place. They made this foolish mistake. The city went around, I guess, ringing doorbells, and they would put a big E on everyone's driveway with chalk. If you didn't have a driveway, they would use that orange paint and paint your grass with a big E. So now no one's home. Those are the houses that got broke into. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Now that Mississauga train derailment where they said there was chlorine gas, did we actually have to leave? Was it that bad?
No. Well, I was only young then too. I was probably about 13 maybe. And I was a Boy Scout at the time, and we went and we helped out the evacuation center. But I remember I just lived just in Etobicoke, not too far away. I grew up by Centennial Park, Etobicoke Olympium, Kevin.
I used to swim there. I used to dive there off the diving platforms. I know the Etobicoke Olympium very well.
I grew up right across the road from there.
Yeah. All right. So did you have to evacuate?
No. But I did evacuate Etobicoke in Toronto when I got into a rural area, and I'm thankful that I did. However, now, like, it's like the rural areas are under attack, and it doesn't matter whether you're in BC, Alberta, Nova Scotia, it doesn't matter where you are. This is what they're talking about. If I went onto the Weather Network, climate change now, they're climate change network and all this nonsense. And the BS, like, they're talking about cold and snow and, the worst wildfire season of the century is coming, all due to climate change.
It's climate change, everybody.
Yes. Let me add something here. Canada's in massive need, and I was something I've been foretelling for a long time now and telling in videos, that Canada's in massive need of a distraction. There's too much accountability, guys. I keep saying this on every show. There's just an incredible amount of accountability on the table, and governments aren't fessing up to, they're going to have some sort of a sideshow going on full time. And this climate thing, again, when all else fails, revert back to climate change. You watch the flow chart, pull the trigger on a pandemic, do this, do that. Flow chart doesn't work, go back to climate change, always revert to climate change. They started it with the Methane Protection Act in the 1800s in New England, where they were charging farmers for head of cattle and horse. In New England in the 1880s and 1890s. And then they tried doing it with the Ozone Protection Layer Act in the early 80s, that the ozone layer is going to melt and destroy. Remember that, guys? The ozone layer, look at this, it's melting. And then from there, they went on with global warming. Al Gore said that Florida will be underwater by 2012. And then they went to climate change, because the climate does change. So it's really hard to negate that. And then, and then now we're what current climate emergency now this week?
Climate emergency. There's someone else. I just seen a video yesterday, and I can't remember who it was. And he said that the oceans are going to rise 7 meters.
Oh, wow.
7 meters. Yep. Oh. Yep. And it's George Soros is funding this new cloud seeding, supposedly in the Arctic, that's going to block the sun and protect the ice from melting. It's unbelievable. But the people that follow this, the people, but I came across an individual last night. He was a speaker at the meeting. His name was, and I think I mentioned to you earlier, Kevin, his name was Donald Lee, and he's from Alberta. And his book is called What the Hell is Going On? And I'll tell you, he has some great information, and he was a really well speaker. And I mentioned that, Kevin, maybe you should try to reach out. I'll see if I can get a message to him. You can get him on the show. Great. He's so up on everything. And it's amazing to speak and how he speaks, and he speaks very well. And but back to the fire and all that, well, I'll let you talk. Sorry.
Kevin,
go ahead, Steph.
On this Weather Network stuff, I'll make a quick comment here.
There you
go. A week before the fires, they put out an alert with this graph. They came up where the high risk fire areas were. I said to a friend of mine, you're going to see next week we're going to have fires, and right on cue, boom, all these fires pop up everywhere.
So, this is the thing that they're doing, and multiple fires. So like our community, like the area that I live in, the township I live in, we could handle one wildfire. But when you get 10 or 12, what happens is the resources are dwindled. They don't have the resources. They don't have the staffing. So this is why you get so many of these fires that are classified as out of control, because they don't have enough water bombers. They don't have enough personnel. They don't have enough ground crews. So you have a number of them go out of control. And those out of control fires, like when you pick up the wind, they consume thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, hectares, whatever. And it's unheard of that you would have multiple fires start at the same time.
Let me add to that.
Possible.
Yeah, Scott. In Calgary, the airport, it takes up quite a bit of land in Calgary. There's a lot of smaller hangars in there for private jets and whatnot, where the biggest thing that you'll see is probably a Dash 7 or a Dash 8, the turboprop planes. But water bombers during this massive fire were parked there, and people were lining up, snapping photographs of the water bombers sitting in Calgary doing nothing for a week. And they realized, if we're going to have these water bombers doing nothing, we should hide them somewhere else. We don't know where they are.
You know what? One of their excuses for that, for grounding them, is that smoke. Oh, they can't fly into the smoke, because when you have a water bomber, they have a smaller plane, a Cessna. It's called a spotter plane. And they'll fly in ahead, and they'll give information, and they'll also radio ground crews to say, okay, the water bomber's coming in, and the water bomber will come in and it will drop its load, and then the spotter goes into where the water source is, right? So it flies ahead of the water bomber. So what happens, and what happened in Alberta, and I had one of our Patriots actually flew her personal plane from BC across Alberta. You couldn't see any of the ground flying through Alberta, and those water bombers were grounded because they couldn't see. There was so much smoke that they couldn't possibly land to pick up or fly over a water source to pick up their water, and then fly to where the fires were. So there was so much smoke. Why was there so much smoke? Because there was so many fires going on at the same time. When there's one fire going on, you'll have smoke, and they can get their bearings and they can do what they have to do. But when you have multiple fires and the smoke level you should have seen the smoke. We had smoke in Ontario. We had all the way down into Toronto, supposedly coming from Quebec. And I've never seen smoke in my whole life. I've been involved in wildfires, and you get into smoky area, you go 20 minutes down the road and it's clear skies. The whole last Sunday it happened. I was coming home from a meeting last Sunday, and I was traveling south down 49 towards Bobcaygeon, and I thought, there's a fire. So I got on the phone. I called a couple of my buddies on the fire department. Is there a fire going on? Nope. I said, there's smoke. They said, oh, yeah, there's smoke in Peterborough. There's smoke here. There's smoke there. I said, where the hell's it coming from? Oh, it's coming from Quebec. BS. It just doesn't make sense. Because another Patriot, a veteran, he was traveling from Ottawa down, and there was nothing. He was driving through clear skies until he got around the Kawartha Lakes area. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on that we don't know about. And but I can understand it. I believe that we've been told nothing but lies our whole lives. And we know what they're capable of. Look at Barry and Honey Sherman. That's minor. If they can do that, what can they do to us? They'll burn us out.
I think they absolutely will. The question that I would have about the planes is why now, and we know why, but why do we not have a responsible media to come out and say the planes are grounded? Here's why. It'd be so easy to have a good rapport with the public by having media outlets just actually report the actual news. Right.
No, they have to report that Donald Trump's going to jail, because that's mandatory. They need to kind of keep going with that. Again, Canada, Kevin, is in need of a massive distraction. Our media used to be our watchdog. Our media used to look out for the common man. Heck, even our banking system used to look out for us to make sure we weren't getting, derailed or whatever. Now, banks get deregulated. Now media gets deregulated. Now everything gets deregulated, and they're renegotiating laws as they go along. And the media is all opinion based. And here they're celebrating Donald Trump's going to jail here where I live in BC. Everybody's, yeah, we're winning. And it's like, Canada's burning to the ground. What are you guys doing about it? Oh, that's not important because the news isn't covering anything about it. It's like, come on, really?
Well, do you expect anything else? Do you expect anything else from the media? They're controlled by who? They're controlled by the global corporations. So it's controlled. We're not going to get any truth. The only truth we get is through social media. Now they're censoring social media. We see it. I'm being censored. I get a new 30-day ban, not a ban, but your post will be moved to a lower rating for 30 days. I get that every single day. And I just whatever. We have to talk amongst ourselves and through Zooms and whatever we're doing here. And then we got to get out into our neighborhoods, and we got to talk to those people in our neighborhoods. So there's another very important factor of taking care of yourself, even through whatever happens. If the shit hits the fan or we have wildfires, do you have a plan within your community? Do you have a place to go, or do you have people coming to your place? Are you within a community that you can work together? Because you're not going to be able to do security and protect your property 24/7. So if the shit hits the fan, and let's say the dollar collapses and everything's collapsed, number one, you don't want to be in a city. And if you're in a rural area, you got to be careful too, because you're going to have an influx of people trying to exit, vacate, escape the city and the carnage and down there up into rural areas. And if you have anything like fuel or whatever you have, they're going to be up here. They're going to be trying to steal it. No different if they're burned out or whatever. Like, we have to protect, and you're not going to do that by yourself. And this is why when I work within communities, we go to communities and we connect with each other. We talk about farming, we talk about fire protection, we talk about health, we talk about communications, healthcare, natural paths. We talk about homeschooling. Like, our communities are really together, and we're building communities so that when the shit does hit the fan, or if we just feel like saying, see you later, corporation, we're not going to recognize you no more. We have a parallel system built. So in my community, I know that I'm protected. We have a plan. We have a plan for fire. We have a plan if the dollar collapses. This is when you go to community meetings, and there's people in every community across this country. There's patriots in every community across this country. And I'll tell a quick story before I yield back and let Kevin speak.
Sure.
2 weeks ago, I was at a buddy's place, and a guy who I knew came over to drop off a weed trimmer to get repaired. Okay. My friend's a mechanic. And it turns out this guy's a neighbor. He lives 6 doors down from me, about 600 feet, 700 feet away from me. And my buddy said, you need to talk to this guy about politics. So I started talking to him. We talked for an hour. And I said, where have you been? I've been at this for 4 years. And I now I know that you're a patriot. This guy was right on board with everything. So these people are all around us, and we got to find them, and we got to unite with them, because that's how we're going to move forward with whatever we're talking about, whatever topic you want to talk about, if it's fire, whatever. We got to build our community. We got to find our brothers and sisters, and we got to unite together. It doesn't mean that every community has to be on the right path or the right team. Some of us get along with each other. Some of us don't. Find those that you get along with and unite with them and move forward in the right path. And that's how we get through all this nonsense that we're dealing with. I yield back.
Well, getting people in this country to work together is a very difficult thing. I noticed that Canadians are very eager to all want to be the boss. It is very much a cultural thing in Canada. Americans, whenever I lived there, which I did do for 4 years straight, from 96 to 2000, it is a lot easier to rally Americans around one specific cause. Now, I know why that is because prior to the left wing being as big as they are now, everybody had the common goal, yo, America. And when everyone's behind one particular idea, they're all going to work together a lot better. Whereas this stupid, ridiculous, reprehensible, nasty, and garbage multicultural ideology that we have here, where every time a new culture shows up, the laws and the rules change to accommodate them, there is no sense of country. There is no sense of patriotism. There's a very small group of Canadians who are patriots, and the rest just don't care. And that's the problem. We have a lot of apathy in this country, a lot.
I think Kevin, there's more than you'd realize. Just as use that as an example, that neighbor that that I didn't know was a patriot, and there's a lot of people sitting on the fence right now, because when you start speaking out and going to rallies, and hey, I was in Ottawa with you, Kevin, a few years ago, 2019. I've been at it this a long time, and you meet a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that distance themselves from you because you like. For myself, I'm outspoken and I speak the truth, but there's a lot more that are just waiting to join on. And one thing that's really getting people riled up right now and getting them on board, and I would like to mention this: it's the children and this transgender and story time thing. And we've used the word freedom for a very long time. And I've mentioned this at the last few community meetings I went to. It's getting stale because the government has labeled freedom seekers as far right extremists, racists, and all that. If you call for freedom, because these people that are still hypnotized, they believe they got their freedom. They feel that life is normal right now. They don't see what's going on like we see what's going on. So let's change our tactics. We've been working on this freedom run for a long time. Let's start concentrating. Hey, how about saving our children? Our children do not need to see friggin' clowns, scary clowns, men dressed like the scariest devil you'd ever seen in your whole life, parading in front of our children. And a lot of people are stepping on board with this. And I said earlier, in talking to you earlier, Kevin, that I know of 2 parents I talked to tonight that their children came out of public school today. They're not going back. They're not going back.
Good.
There's many homeschools that are starting in communities. And this is what I'm saying, in the community. So you got to get out within your community. So if there's a rally in your community, go to that rally and just meet people and talk to people. And then the rally, leave the rally and go and have private meetings. Like, we have potlucks. So we have community potlucks, and we get together at a place, and sometimes there's 50, sometimes there's 60 of us. And we're all like-minded people, and we vet each other, and we see, we get together. So we've made a huge, we've made a inner core group, and it's a very solid inner core group of individuals that I trust with my life. And that's it. That's within my local area. And that's what protects me, because I know whatever way this goes, that none of us know when, but it's going to go south. We know. And
it's going to
be the agenda is the agenda, right?
No,
we haven't seen the darkest of days. We haven't seen the darkest of days, right?
Not yet.
So but having a plan and having. I just want to ask
Mike something there, Mike. With you being in Merritt, BC, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off there, Scott, but in Merritt, I want to know, aside from Donald Trump, do people talk about anything to do with these forest fires or preparation for what's coming?
No. Somebody came in and today said that Hillary has a chance to become president. And what else? Politically, everything's stateside politics. It's the distraction here in BC is massive for stateside American side politics. It's huge. It's incredible. You're in a lineup somewhere. You're in a going to get your teeth fixed. You're going. All you hear is that, oh, Donald Trump's going to jail. Oh, he better go to jail. He's indicted. He's this and that. And nobody looks at the laptop from hell from Hunter Biden. No one looks at anything else. This man is the most pursued president in the history of the United States of America, combined with all presidents. He's the most pursued man. And it's really sad that Canada doesn't look at these fires. Look, well, Canada is. I'm saying the majority of people, they're just so politically wrapped in this U.S. politics here.
Scott, you're up.
I have to, I've been listening to some of what's going on in the States, and I'm listening to some of these senators and all that with the committees and all that, with all this evidence of money transfers, all this money laundering with Biden's brother, his son, and all this evidence. And where's the justice? Where's the arrest? If that was you, Kevin, you would be in jail like a snap of a finger.
Yep.
Now we have all this evidence that's going out. So why is nothing happening? Because nothing is going to happen, because there is no justice. This is just a kick. It's a kick in the face. It's to say, look at, here's all this evidence. If this evidence was brought to any one of us, we would be arrested right on. But is Biden or Biden's son or any this is the frustrating part, because you hear all this evidence. And is it a distraction? Like what is it? Because it's no different than Trudeau and all of Trudeau's crimes. Where is the justice? There is no justice. There is no justice system. And Kevin, there's no justice system in this country. There is no justice system.
The prosecutor that was actually, I've actually brought this up on Kevin's show several times over the last 2 years, of the barista scandal by Hunter Biden in the Ukraine with the oil company. And we brought this up several times. And every time Zelensky wanted more money, he'd bring up the prosecutor for the barista scandal through Hunter Biden, and the U.S. would send more money, and she'd disappear for a while. Then Zelensky will bring her up again. We're going to put her front and center and start exposing America, and then the Bidens will send more money to Ukraine and send more money. And guess what happened yesterday? She died.
Trudeau just gave $500 million.
Yeah. So the barista prosecutor died yesterday, by the way, just so you guys know. That's been following the whole Hunter Biden scam in the Ukraine. Kind of bizarro, right? But yes, and Trudeau was in Kiev a few days back to give $500 million of blood money. It's all laundered. Money hits the accounts there. 80% go back into the politicians' bank accounts. Plain and simple. This whole war has been the biggest money laundering scam. Canadian housing was the biggest money laundering scam for the last 10 years, and then now housing, isn't enough money to bring back. So the best way is through these fake hot wars that Ukraine started this war in the first place, and now it's a war of attrition for Russia, and Russia will win. Period.
Oh, Putin's he's taking everything seriously, but let's not make this a Russia show because
I'm sorry.
Because we're gonna do one soon, Mike. That's a promise, and you're gonna be here for it. You're not missing that one. We got Chris Sky coming in 10 minutes, everyone. So, Mike, thanks for being here, brother. And
anytime.
Tell everyone how to find you. You got a show every Saturday. Go ahead.
Mike in the Night. We're on Rumble and Odyssey. Just type in Mike in the Night on Rumble. You'll find us every Saturday, 7 p.m. since 2016. Saying it every Saturday since 2016. Episode 507 this Saturday.
You're amazing. Thanks, brother. Take care.
God bless. Bye. Bye.
That's Mike Martins, everybody, who runs Mike in the Night. Great show. I've been on it many times. All right. So we got 10 minutes here to get to, I guess, the bottom of these fires, or I guess more so the bottom of really what can the average person do, especially with roadblocks and politicians cooperating with the World Economic Forum to stop people from protecting their farms. Let's get right into that.
Well, it's like, what can you do? Like, you stand up, identify yourself as a volunteer firefighter. You can go out and purchase one of those green flashing lights. Volunteer firefighters use them. Put one in your windshield. How do you get through an RCMP? I don't know. I really don't. I can't even imagine that the RCMP would try to stop people with equipment. They stopped in Alberta. They stopped people with heavy equipment. They'll make a fire break. So you can make a fire break. So they'll bring big dozers and they'll plow down trees to make a fire break. And the RCMP blocked those. So, all I can say is be prepared, have a clear understanding that wildfire is a huge issue concern that we should have. And that if you take care of your property and do some pre-cleaning outside to remove the fine and medium fuels and keep the soil moist, even if you don't think you have to, just water your lawn around and keep the moisture content in the ground. And then when fire comes, you have some hoses, have a portable pump if you have a water source. If you don't have a water source, go and buy. You can buy a Canadian Tire, a pool, 12 feet around, 36 inches deep, and fill that pool and get a small pump. And so you have a water source. Have a water source that you can use if the hydro line goes down, right? So if you don't have a generator to run it, then you have to come up with some other way to run a pump, because hydro may go out. That's why we have gas pumps. Make sure you have enough fuel to feed your gas pump. And when you're defending your property, it's not going to be for 8 hours or 10 hours. Fire is going to go through and sweep through your property. So it may be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you're just going to have to deal with the hot spots and all that there. So it's not like a long period of time that you're going to have to fight this. And it all depends on definitely the property around you and how much vegetation, how much fuel there is, right? The fuel is what burns, whether it's on the ground or into the treetops. And the further you can clear that back from your structures, the better chance you have in protecting your structure. And staying protected and have a plan. And it costs. By the time I'm done, I'll probably be up to maybe about $1,500 to $1,600 to have a decent portable pump. The hose that I need and the sprinkler systems. I got roof sprinklers. I got sprinklers for my yard. So and I know a lot of people don't have $1,600, but if you can get with your neighbors and community and, you can share it and you can move it around, because every place is not going to burn at the same time simultaneously. But try to get some sort of and reach out to someone. Maybe you have a firefighter in your family or whatever. I have him, I'll talk all day long about it, right? And I do it. I'm doing it. And if you have information, get a hold of Ed or get a hold of Kevin, and they'll give you my email address and shoot me an email, and I'll have a conversation with you. I'm very passionate about this, and I can't say how to fight the RCMP. I just know that I draw my line in the sand, and they're not going to stop me. And they're definitely not going to evacuate me from my house. And I've drawn that. That's my personal opinion. That's what I've decided. And that we each have our own points of what we're going to listen to, and we're going to listen to them to evacuate our house. I'm not. My house is protected, and I'm not going to burn, and I'm not going to be crying for someone. And one of the biggest things is, and I mentioned earlier, is the staffing. And if they start multiple fires in Ontario, which they're already doing, and they did in Alberta, they did in Nova Scotia, they did in Quebec, it's going to happen in Ontario. This next week it looks pretty good. It comes into later next week when we get into the 27 and 32-year weather, and it only takes 3 days to dry out the ground to start a wildfire. So any questions I'll answer, but
yeah, Kelly's got a question right here. Why is the sky orange? And I'll let's see here. I want to put a photograph back up for everybody. When I walked around Calgary, when it got completely covered in smoke for about a day, actually not even a full day. Here's a photograph for everybody that I just walked around the neighborhood taking pictures. I made them artistic. So, I always had to shoot up and have something in the way to show that the sun, it was so orange and there was so much smoke in the air that I could stare at that sun and not hurt my eyes in any way. So why does the sky turn orange?
Chemicals and heavy metals, most definitely. I've been, like as I said, I've been involved in many wildfires, and the smoke, we have a wood burning stove in your house, what wood smoke smells like, and it's not really irritating. But the smoke that went through Ontario a week ago Sunday, it had a chemical smell and taste to it, and that goes towards structure fires and chemicals, plastics, ABS burning, and all that. And it's no different than the chemtrails. And you can see at sunset, we have a sunset. We used to look in the west and we'd see a sunset. Now I look into the east and I see a sunset because there's these glowing orange clouds, right? To the east that were never there in the past. Well, that's the reflection of the heavy metals in the sky. So that's what I would say that it is: chemicals and heavy metals.
All right.
And we're breathing that shit in.
Yeah, and it was a pretty tough day to breathe. I'm not going to lie. But as for one of the videos that I made, and we're going to because you and I haven't discussed this yet, I was talking about smoke being in the air. Everybody was panicking that smoke was going to destroy the environment. Does smoke destroy the environment?
Well, you could get some really contaminated smoke and it gets into the ground, but at what level? And look what they did down in the States with the train derailment, and they burned that train and all that smoke and all that contaminated water. So yeah, smoke can contaminate. Is it going to have long-term effects? I think Mother Nature's pretty good at cleaning things up. But it just depends on what's in that smoke. Our ground's contaminated now. Our ground's already contaminated. They're doing soil samples and water samples. And they're finding high levels of barium and all these heavy metals in the soil. Well, that's from the chemtrails. You can't watch these planes flying 24/7 crisscross. It's like they're playing with us. There's a game of checkers up in the sky, and they're saying, "Oh, that's just contrails." Well, I know I had this argument with Ed in the past because he's a pilot, and I said, they're chemtrails. They're contrails. I said, and we were flying out to Saskatchewan in 2019, and he said, well, there's airplane paths, right? They fly in these paths, and I have flight radar, and I see these chemtrails flying over, and they're not even listed on the radar. And it's we could talk about so many different things, how they're contaminating the soil, the water, and the air. And it's all there. It's all there. So how much of an impact is it on our environment? It's a huge impact on our environment. Now, a regular old forest fire with no structures burning has that's carbon. That's good. That has no bad effect on the environment whatsoever. It's when you start putting those chemicals in, right? So that's and who knows? So this is another thing that I didn't mention. So those chemtrails that are flying, right? So those are landing in the trees. So those heavy metals are landing in the trees. So that makes the intensity of that fire greater. Those fires are burning hotter and faster because of those metals. You watch a car, watch a Tesla burn.
I've seen
watch a Tesla burn. So you have these chemtrails dropping BC, all these, all our trees, all these heavy metals are dropping on the trees. So when you get a fire, it's more intense. It's going to travel faster. fire travels uphill much quicker. There's just, so much.
There was there was a video on YouTube, and I believe it was in the 70s when they started doing all this spraying and stuff. And I believe if you type in something, I think it was called the Farmers Defense Alliance, making a presentation at the UN, telling them to stop all the spraying that they're doing, because they weren't only doing them by plane, but they were also doing them with the ships when they're crossing the oceans. And they warned then the amount of aluminum in the spraying would kill the trees. And this is where we're seeing these. They're trying to figure out why these trees are all the bark's falling off and everything, and they're dying. And then there was also about that spraying would cause blooms in the ocean, and you would have mass fish kills. And this is where you're seeing, and the media says, all these, tens of thousands of fish washed up dead on the shore, and they're at a loss. They don't know why. And then they'll start blaming pollution and all this garbage. No, that's because this has been going on for a very long time. If you don't believe that they've been doing this stuff, type in Google, U.S., Canada, weather modification treaty, and it'll pull it up. Government doesn't hide it. It's right on the government website. This was signed in 1975.
Wow. Have you ever heard of the term blue algae in the water?
Yes.
So I can't. I'm driving around, and we have a lot of swamp and water around, and I can't. I've never seen so many blue algae blooms as I have today. It's unbelievable, and this is toxic. I know. I had a dog a few years ago, and I live on the water. I live like on a water source, and my dog swam through a blue algae, and she came out, and she started into this convulsing, and she threw up. I got her to the vet, and the only thing that saved her was that she threw up, but it was blue algae. It's highly toxic, and it's rampant around Ontario. I'm not sure what it's like out in Alberta or BC or whatever, but it's rampant. It's for you to mention that, like when you mentioned the algae and all that, it's just wow.
Remember that Calgary, for example, is about 430 kilometers further north than Toronto. So the vast majority of water in Alberta is cold all the time. You should try swimming in the Bow River. It goes right through Calgary in August. You think it's nice and warm. No, it sucks. It's cold. So blue algae doesn't form here. But I remember blue algae, and it looks like a blue foam until you get close to it. Then you can see it's a life form that just floats on the surface in these big 10, 15-foot patches on top of the water. And it stinks. Like as it moves on the waves, when it gets in front of you, the smell is horrendous.
And when I was a kid, okay, and you never seen that as a child in Ontario, Kevin, and neither did I. I grew up, we had a cottage, and I never ever seen blue algae, never. And now it's just rampant. And why? Why is it rampant now? Farming and agriculture. Yeah, BS. But anyways, it's 10:43. I've got a lot. I've got to take care of my dogs and stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here.
Oh, hey, I hope, and just really and truthfully, take care of your property on the outside and clean up and have some sort of a water source and keep your property, keep it damp, stand your ground and don't bow down to these parasites. And let's keep moving in a forward direction.
That we will. And if anyone wants to get your email address, you guys can simply contact us. Go to kevinjjohnston.ca. Ask me for it, and we'll get it to you. You can talk to Scott anytime about these issues. Scott, thanks for being here.
Yeah, and you have my personal number as well, Kevin. So, anybody that you trust.
I won't put that up here.
No, but anybody you trust, for sure. Anybody in Ontario that's looking to put together some sort of a forestry trailer or an action plan, please get a hold of me. I'm working with a number of different communities, and that's what I want to do. That's my job, and hey, thank you for having me, and I wish you all well.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's a very good discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Take care of yourself.
You take care.
Scott Rayner, everybody. That's phenomenal. And I'd like to have Scott back because there's a whole lot more to talk about. He's very, very knowledgeable in this. And Stefanos, you knowing a bit about the law here, roadblocks. When the RCMP is blocking you from your own property, right, what can you do? Go ahead.
If they're blocking the road, that's going to be a fine line, because if you get arrested, they can't arrest you for being on your property or refusing to leave your property. But if you've left and you're trying to come back in and they've blocked the roads, you're going to have to go around them somehow and get back to your property. They'll definitely, remember, tyranny always comes under the guise of safety. So they will say for safety reasons, they can't allow you to pass that road. So that's where you're going to end up getting the problems legally in a court of law or anything like that, because it would be justified at that point, remember. So at least in their eyes. So there would be a problem. So there wouldn't be a constitutional issue with mobility rights, because again, they're going to use safety. So that's going to be something tough. Remember High River, when the RCMP went in everyone's houses and they stole all their firearms.
Yes.
So you see, they had absolutely no reason to be going in there and stealing people's firearms. I wonder if they're doing the same thing now with the fires, that everybody that's left their homes, if they're going in and breaking in and stealing their firearms again.
Isn't it incredible that our police are allowed to just break into our homes and take our stuff?
Definitely not allowed.
Well, it's not allowed, but it's
They
being
do.
allowed.
Yeah, they go ahead and they do it anyways. Do something wrong and then plead ignorance and ask for forgiveness later.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, and the problem is Canadians forgive them all the time. Like, okay, I guess a police officer with an IQ of 81 knows better than me. What's for my safety? He doesn't know me, but he knows it's safer for me if he breaks into my house.
Look, and then we have idiots like you and I, and we're sitting here saying for you, just go around them and go home. But we're the idiots for telling you to do something you should be able to do.
I'm not going to tell you to go around them if you're on the road. I would just maybe suggest, if your property was right beside them, then just drive on your property.
Yeah, exactly. But
hopefully you don't have a ditch there on your property that traps your car.
Yeah, but the point is, we're the idiots because, it's for your safety and we're going in and doing things that's dangerous. So, that's take the jab, damn it. Take that jab. It's good for you. Just remember that.
Do we even want to talk about the jab? Let's talk about the jab very, very quickly, everybody. Go to my website right now, kevinjjohnston.ca. Grab yourself a copy of the ebook or the audio book, Masks Are BS, the book that I put out 3.5 years ago, the book that Toronto police threatened to arrest me for, and the book that's been called the funniest book in Canadian history by Michael Arena and other amazing podcasters. Go to kevinjjohnston.ca, look it up. Ebook coupon code is KJJ Instagram 1. Audiobook coupon code KJJ Instagram 2. So you can always see that Stefanos and myself and the rest of my team, we are anywhere between 1 and 5 years ahead of everybody else on this type of information. I couldn't wait to put that book out, man. I was floored at the information being handed to me by the Mayo Clinic in the States and the Cleveland Clinic. Yeah, they were really eager to answer questions about how ridiculous Canadian medicine was. And then they just completely flipped 180 after that book was written.
Yeah, of course. Oops.
Hey, the Mayo Clinic is worth billions. They were talking to me on the phone about this stuff. And as soon as the book came out, they changed their entire tune. Am I really that influential that $1 billion corporation changes its mind about something because I wrote a book?
Maybe they changed their own mind after they realized what they gave you.
They got paid. I'm just trying to get a hold of Chris here, folks. He's usually not late, but I get it. The guy just got out of jail. So I'll just keep texting there. the law on roadblocks? Do you know it? They could just decide to shut it. First off, do they have to get court orders to shut the road down, or can they just say, we feel like closing this road?
No, they'll just go and close it. But again, you have to, they'll have to declare some sort of an emergency or something, and they'll block it off, right? They don't need a court order, but what's the implications? What's the situation, and does it warrant something like that or not?
Well, one of the things used to irritate me living in Mississauga was the Peel Regional Police. They'd park 2 or 3 cars on the road, crisscross patterns so you couldn't get around them, and they just go with road flares and go wee, like they toss them wee like this, and they'd keep a road closed for the entire night. No one knows why. No construction.
They're crazy.
Yeah, no murder scene, no accident, no fire, no flood, no deer crossing, no nothing. I watched them do it one night. Like the guy was like, he was doing this, and he was dancing around, wee, and he throws it.
Now that would be questionable. That on that issue, that would more than likely be a mobility rights issue at that point.
Again, what can we possibly do? The big courthouse in Brampton, Ontario, is referred to as No Deal Peel. It is the most corrupt courthouse in North America. It is brutal. The treatment of prisoners in the basement is brutal. They just can't wait to get you into some prison somewhere. The amount of money that's wasted on running that ridiculous place. And most of the guys that were in there, it's like domestic, like they got into an argument with their wife. That like, it was almost all domestic. Couple break and enters. What are you locking someone up for 6-7 weeks before their trial? On a break and enter, they're going to get 5 days for.
I'll tell you this much. So when I was representing someone in that courthouse, and of course we were successful, but you want bad. I think we were told to be there for 1 o'clock, and we sat there just before the courthouse closed because they were bringing literally Muslims and up, and the Crown was Muslim also, and it was one case after the other. Oh, we have a special case here today, and we need to move them up. So I was looking around the courtroom where we were sitting. It was all whites sitting and waiting and being delayed while you were getting all the Muslim and people of color coming up and coming under the guise of some special something or another, one after the other, and in and out of the courtroom they'd go while everybody had to sit and wait all day.
Because white people won't say anything. They just sit there. They won't say a word.
I
get it. I totally understand that. It sucks. It's complete and total racism. But white people are always the ones that put up with it. They always do.
But Kevin, there's no such thing as reverse racism. Remember that's what they came out with.
That's what they say. Yeah, you'll never get me to agree with the left wing at all. I'm just calling Chris right now, guys. Hold on. Just maybe I'm supposed to call him.
Show.
Hey, bro. All right, he's jumping on. Yeah, Chris Sky's coming, everyone. He's coming in. We're going to talk about this ridiculous fake arrest. Remember, if you run for public office in Canada and you are a threat of any kind, they're going to lock you up. They did it to me for 7 weeks during my campaign, and then 40 days after my campaign, and then 2 weeks after that, and then 9 weeks of house arrest. Yeah. Think about it. 75 criminal charges. Unbelievable.
You know, Kevin, if you end up in there again, they do have MMA fights in there, that they arrange. So if you want to get into shape and practice up some, you can just dive into one of those suckers.
Well, they had me on the peaceful ward. I mean, what they do is they throw you into like a medium violent ward and see how you react. And if you're not arrogant or whatnot, you're not rude, you don't cause problems, they give you the easy one. So I got the easy one. I didn't get the tough one. Hey, and there he is, everybody. The next mayor of Toronto, Chris Sky. Vote for Chris Sakocha. This is June 24th. Brother, how are you?
Well, I'm still in the same clothes I got arrested in. So, but I'm doing good.
What the hell, man? What happened?
Arrest number 27. Same type of setup as before. Somebody calls. makes a false claim, and then I get arrested for it with absolutely no evidence, based entirely on their good word. Just like it happened, this is the fourth time now I've had charges like this against me under the same pretenses of somebody calling and saying, "Oh, Chris Guy said this." And then they have no proof, no evidence, because it's a lie. And then I end up getting exonerated. But the point is, they want to arrest me. They want to put it in the media that I got arrested to make me look like a bad person. They want to do cruel and unusual punishment to me while I'm in there to try to discourage me and dissuade me. And believe me, today was one of the worst days I've spent in jail, to be honest. And I can't blame the guys at 53 Division. They were actually pretty courteous when I got there. I would even say accommodating. They were really nice. But when I got transferred to 51 Division bail court, I showed up at 53 Division at 5:30 in the morning, just at shift change. So they processed me by around 6 something. And by 11-ish, I was on my way to bail court. And for these charges, the charges were uttering a threat. Not even necessarily a death threat, uttering a threat. And there was absolutely no evidence except this person said I called them and on the phone said this. That was it. No witnesses, no evidence. In fact, they sent a text message of what I said. And in the text message, it says, "I'm going to expose you for corruption." So I don't know if you want to say that's a threat, but yeah, definitely not a threat that somebody can get arrested for. And that's the only evidence this person gave the police. Not only is it contradictory to their claim, but it also is him providing the police motive for why he would make up a story, because he knows I was going to expose him for corruption. And who are we talking about here? We're talking about a person that's very well politically connected, but I can't even talk about, I won't even mention his name because I don't want to get in any trouble, because I'm not supposed to have any direct or indirect contact with him. So I guess mentioning his name wouldn't be bad, but I have other things. I have other things planned for this, so I'd rather just leave his name out of it. But as you can imagine, it was a conspiracy where the government was colluding with a charitable organization to basically create a debate for the mayoral candidates, but only very specific mayoral candidates. And then when a second debate was planned for different mayoral candidates, myself included, it was kiboshed after everything was pretty much settled and ready to go, because they didn't want it to happen, because they didn't want to give us any legitimacy of having a second debate at the same place where another debate happened with the so-called top runners in the election. So I was going to expose that. Instead, they got me arrested. Like I said, I was at 53 Division from 5:30 to like 11 a.m. And then they transferred me to 51 bail court. And this is where it got a little interesting. I was put on a range where they had a gentleman with an obvious mental illness, like right beside me. And this guy would not stop singing on the top of his lungs with the most off-key, nasty voice, everything from 50 Cent all the way up to Celine Dion and everything in between. But from 11 o'clock to 9 p.m. at night when they finally let me out. And why did they let me out at 9 p.m. at night when I got there at 5 o'clock in the morning? Well, I actually got bail court at 2 o'clock. And when I went to the bail court on video, guess what? The Crown didn't even ask for a bail surety. The Crown didn't even ask for any money. The Crown looked like he was embarrassed to be there. I guarantee this is not even going to go to trial. So he gave me bail to my own recognizance, which is basically I get out. I didn't even have to put up any money or anything. And the only condition is not talking to the person that I allegedly threatened, which kind of makes sense. So I was told I was going to be getting out right away. So I didn't even opt to talk to my lawyer again at that point. I just went back to the holding cell to the singing gentleman. And he was singing so loud and so hard. People were literally slamming on the doors, on the walls, everything they could to try to get this guy to stop. And he would not stop. And then I waited an hour, 2 hours. They said my paperwork finally had arrived, so I was expecting to be released. Instead, they told me, sorry, we're not releasing anybody right now. We're too busy. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but when you get a bail release paper, you should be released. They kept me until almost 9 o'clock at night. So they kept me another 7 hours with the singing guy. and it was not fun. I know people think it sounds weird. Yeah, you had some guy saying, but when you're locked in a cell and you can't do anything about it, it is literally torture. It's a method of torture. You can look this up. And the way this guy was singing, you wouldn't want to listen to him for 5 seconds, let alone 9 hours straight. It was insane.
Walls, concrete roof, concrete floor, steel toilet, steel sink, steel mirror. That reflects back in your ears.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
And they wouldn't even give me toilet paper because they knew I was going to use it to make earplugs.
Yeah, I know how torturous that is because I play guitar and stuff, and when your ears get tuned and you hear an out of tune sound, it pisses you right off. I get that. It
drives you absolutely crazy. And when you would plead with him to stop, he would just scream louder. And there's nothing you can do about it because you're in a cell, locked up. And you can't even walk more than 2 steps in one direction. It was not fun. And they did that on purpose to try to discourage me. Of course, they did it to try to make me look bad so especially people on the fence, they're trying to make it, oh, look, Chris guy got arrested again. And they even ran an article in CP24 where they talk about my last arrest for uttering death threats. But they leave out the convenient fact that I was completely exonerated, found not guilty, and that the man that had threatened me was a con man with 4 decades worth of fraud and theft charges and 3 counts of uttering death threat convictions himself. So, these are the kind of people that end up accusing me of things falsely, and nothing ever happens to them, but I'm the one that has my name dragged through the mud. I'm the one that has to go to jail. I'm the one that has to spend thousands of dollars on lawyers, and I'm the one that gets my name dragged through the mud. And in this case, I'm the one in the middle of an election 2 weeks before the election day, and unfortunately, I think what they did is going to backfire, because CP24 was dumb enough to publish the article talking about me getting arrested and then posting the video I made of why I'm doing all this. And it's obvious why I'm doing all this. I've been fighting for the people. In particular, I've been fighting for the young people because I've been trying to save and recreate the same opportunities that I had at their age for them that they no longer have, and where the next generation definitely will no longer have. So I literally made a video saying, I'm getting arrested for the 27th time for you guys, especially the youth. And CP24 was so dumb, they went and posted this video that's got almost 500,000 views just on Twitter, telling everybody to go out and vote for me, telling the youth that I'm fighting for them, getting arrested for them, and telling the youth that they have the power to choose their own destiny and the power to vote and win. And they actually posted this. So thank you, CP24. I think the woman who did this is a secret fan of mine, and I'll give her a big kiss.
There you go. There's your video on CP24's website.
Yeah, that's what I said. And it's literally me. Read what it says. So it says, tomorrow I'll be arrested. And then it talks about the support. But if you actually listen to the video, and if you actually read in the article describes what I say in the video. And I literally am telling the young people to get out and vote. So CP24 is telling the young people to get out and vote for me. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
It's beautiful when it backfires in their face. And I believe you're right. The Crown probably more than likely was embarrassed, because if you read the criminal code books that they use, the Martins, it'll tell you in there that if it's a single person making an accusation and there's no witnesses, there's no nothing, they are not even allowed to make that arrest. So, of course, they're going to release you on your own recognizance. And
reality, anybody else wouldn't even been charged. And if they really wanted someone and they charged them politically, it would have been a promise to appear in 99.9999999% of cases. They wanted a show cause, which means they wanted just to be able to lock me up. And then when they did lock me up at 5 o'clock, they made sure to keep me till 9 o'clock at night. They kept me almost the full 24 hours that they're allowed to. And the only reason they even let me go at that time was because my lawyer started bombarding the friggin' thing, saying, where the hell's my client? We got bail at 2 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. And people have been waiting outside to pick him up for like 7 hours now. So what's going on over there? And that's the only reason I got out. If I didn't have a proper lawyer, if I didn't have proper people beside me, proper people behind me, I would have been railroaded again. But it just goes to show how desperate they are. It just goes to show how full of crap they are. And the funny part is, I actually have witnesses because the stupid moron that made the accusations didn't realize that when I called him on speakerphone with my campaign manager and my top volunteer, Thomas, our good friend, right beside me. So we have two people ready to swear affidavits of what I said and did not say, versus one idiot who has motive to lie, who already provided evidence to the police that I didn't threaten him. So it's going to be very interesting. And in fact, I think it's time that this guy gets charged instead for obstruction of justice, making false statements, etc., and electoral interference. Because obviously this was done to sabotage my election campaign. Nobody will be able to deny that.
Yes, it absolutely was. Chris, I mean, if it's you and me running for office, you know that you and me are going to be spending time in jail.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I was expecting this. Well, this is the second time because I got arrested in Edmonton too. But in Edmonton, I didn't really go to jail. I was just in airport jail for like an hour, and then they let me go. And those charges, by the way, were dropped. And you know how they dropped it? They tried to tell me I had to go back to Edmonton on the 28th of May for fingerprints. And I was like, you guys know I'm running the election in Toronto. Like, we don't care. You're coming back. I'm like, first of all, you guys have about 20 copies of my fingerprints. We know they don't change. Second of all, I can just do my fingerprints, which are electronically done at any place in Ontario, and have them sent to you in Alberta. Why do I need to fly all the way to Alberta just to disrupt my election campaign? They said, well, too bad, you have no choice. If you don't, we're going to put a warrant out for your arrest. So I called them with my lawyer and I said, okay, you guys want me to fly down there and do my fingerprints? I go, if you make me do that, here's my lawyer on the phone. I'm telling you right now, we're not making any deal and we're forcing this to trial immediately. And then I'm going to embarrass you guys so bad in court, and it's going to expose you guys so bad in court. You're going to wish you never made me come do those fingerprints. And they said, okay, fine, you don't have to come do the fingerprints. And in fact, we're going to drop the charges. Yeah. Imagine that.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's getting to be like that. You know, and Chris, they hit me with 6 charges during COVID for doing my job as a journalist. And the Crown realized that, you know, we're going to try to get Johnston 7 months of jail time for assault and for not break and enter, but unlawful entry, all kinds of stuff. And I think the Crown overheard me talking to my lawyer. I'm saying, you know what? Let's go in there and book a trial, and I'll advertise the trial date right up to the day that it happens. I'm pretty sure this town of Drumheller, Alberta, which has a population of 8,000, it'll be full. Right? So then they say, well, tell you what, we'll drop all the main charges, just plead guilty to trespassing, no cash fine. So they know that people are fed up with them. They're embarrassed
and they know they're overplaying their hand one too many times, and they know that people are starting to understand the law. And when you understand the law and you understand their limitations, it's very, very helpful. But the other problem is when you have somebody like I'm going up against that has obvious political connections, strong enough to make police arrest and charge a man who under offense that's not even an arrestable offense under the circumstances, and then having me put in that situation where for 9 hours I'm literally exposed to cruel and unusual punishment. It gets scary because you don't know how high the corruption goes, and you don't know what to expect. Like, for instance, when I go to jail, I can't drink anything they give me or eat anything they give me. Who the hell, are you crazy? So then this is the kind of shit I have to worry about on a daily basis. And people underestimate that, but it definitely has a psychological effect on you when you're, because I was in jail almost 24 hours and I didn't even eat or drink anything.
Yeah, it can get to you because the food that they serve in there legally is not even food. And have a look at me. Sorry?
Who knows what they'll do to it? Like, do you really trust them? Like, I'm going to be honest. Like I said, in 53 Division, the officers were extremely courteous, extremely professional, and I said even go as far as say accommodating, and I was pleasantly surprised. 51 Division, it was mixed bag. I had officers that supported me vehemently enough that they actually came, opened my cell door, and had a discussion with me about my mayoral campaign, and even told me they're voting for me, etc. Or I had officers walk by and slam my window shut just so I wouldn't be able to see out, or make sure that I would be stuck there. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, it typically does. Yeah. Now, I just want everyone to understand how bad the food is. If you look at me right now, everybody, I weigh 210 pounds. And you remember that I was only in prison. I entered at 210 pounds and I walked out at 178 in just 7 weeks without being allowed to use the gym, or because we were locked in our cells for between 23 and 20 hours a day. It was ridiculous. So I lost all that weight without even exercising. The food is not food. It's brutal. And
you only get fed. Well, in bail court, you don't really get fed a meal. In bail court, you can be in there for over 24 hours, and they'll give you like a cheese sandwich and a juice box. But if you actually go to prison and you're in remand center, and you have a sentence of less than a year and a half, you're only getting fed twice a day. And when you're someone like me, every time I get arrested, especially during COVID, when you don't take a test, you won't wear a mask, and you're unjabbed, they put you in solitary confinement. I would spend 23 hours and 50 minutes per day in the cell. I was only allowed out for 10 minutes by myself. I wasn't allowed access to the showers, the gym, anything. The only thing I was allowed access to was the phone. That's why they let me out for 10 minutes a day. So that's what. And so when you're in that situation and you can't even leave your cell or do anything, when you get fed, that's definitely the highlight of your day. And if you're only getting fed twice a day, you got to make that food last. Especially someone like me that's used to eating like 5-6 times a day.
Yeah, you got some muscle there, boy. So yeah, you got to eat a few times a day. That's for sure. Chris, what's your next step? What happens now?
Well, obviously, we didn't even stop. We just keep going. Tomorrow, I have a interview first thing in the morning, 11 a.m. I missed an interview today. It was going to be with Real Toronto News, the Instagram account. They're doing actually now their first interview and podcast that they've ever done, and they chose me to be their first person. I rescheduled it for Monday, and I'm really looking forward to that. I did Block Talk. If everybody remembers the last time I did Block Talk, it was the viral video when I went to buy the maple syrup at the Longos. That was absolutely hysterical. And we did one for the mayoral campaign, and it's actually pretty funny. I got to see some clips of it today. So that got released today. June 15th is a massive televised live stream debate between me and 6 other mayoral candidates. It's going to be at the Faith Pentecostal Church, which has a world-class auditorium with about 1,500 seats. It's first come, first serve. It's going to be televised. It's going to be live streamed. There's going to be all kinds of press there, I was told. So it's going to be a very big and very important event, and I'm looking forward to showcasing my speaking abilities combined with my platform. And when you put those two things together, it equals me doing very well in the debate.
You're going to smoke them. Chris,
yeah.
You're going to smoke them. You see, what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that public speaking, it's an art form. But if you're guys like Chris and me, you love doing it. So you can't wait to be there. It could be 20 hours and we're still going to be going strong. Chris, and your energy levels, man, are through the roof. And you come prepared. So you are going to crush these guys.
Oh, buddy, I come prepared. Unlike them, I actually read about the government. I actually read about the different departments and the budgets. I actually read about all the new press releases and stuff that's coming out and things that they want to try. I know a lot more than people realize. People know that I'm very well versed in COVID. People know that I have a broad knowledge base. But when it comes to this stuff, I never really discuss politics and government because to me, most people, it's boring to them, so I don't talk about it. But when it comes to my campaign and it comes to anything that like a job, I take it more serious than anything, and I dedicate 21 hours a day every single day to learning every single thing I can about the position that I'm going to be in so I can be as efficient as possible. Just look at our campaign. What other campaign in history I rent a house and put my whole campaign team in there. So we're all together. So we have unmatched communication, unmatched productivity, unmatched efficiency. Then we get an office 5 kilometers from the home. So all our volunteer base and everything else we need is within a 5-minute drive. There is no other campaign being run like that. There's only 5 other campaigns that even have a campaign office, let alone have a campaign office right beside their campaign headquarters where the manager, the candidate, the media guy, and everyone else all live together. It is crazy. That's why we can get so much done. That's why we have such a professional campaign. And that's why we can compete with these establishment cronies that I'm telling you, they've already spent, some of these people, like Olivia Chow and them, around $3 million to get where they are in the election, and they're nowhere. They didn't do anything. They can't even get more than 50 people to show up to an event if they're there. And the only reason they're popular is because the TV says so. And the TV, we know, is controlled by the government, just like those candidates are. And the narrative has been failing. The narrative has been slipping. And all I got to do literally is make a 1-minute video, and I can manipulate the media. We noticed that today with CP24. They not only can't ignore me, now they have to acknowledge me, and they couldn't even slander me. There was no anti-vax conspiracy theorist there. The only way they could slander me was mentioning my previous arrests and glossing over the fact that I was found not guilty on every single one. 27 arrests now and 73 charges. And the 73rd charge is going to be beat. I promise you that.
Oh, you'll beat it. Yeah. I don't think it's even going to get to the plead phase. They're going to turf it.
They're just going to pull it. They're just going to pull it. It was just a way to kidnap me and torture me. That's what it was all about.
No, that's
exactly what it was.
Right, kidnap is the right word. All right, Chris. So people, how do they reach you? How do they help you out? ChrisSkyForChange.com. It's right there for all Ontario residents. You can make a donation through there. For anyone else that wants to help us, if you're not an Ontario resident, well, we still have legal funds. We still have all kinds of other things that people can donate to. And if they send an email to ChrisSkyForChange@mail.com, it's on the Chris Sky for Change website as well. You can. My team will tell you how you can help us. Yeah, I was going to say, everyone, share this video out. What I'll do, Chris, I'll cut this video. So it's just this interview here. I'll put it out. Everyone needs to share everything that you and I talk about, because you're the only candidate brave enough to come on this show. For some reason, they're afraid of Kevin J. Johnston. I'm just some middle-aged gray-haired guy. How terrifying am I? Right. But
so you might ask them a question they don't want to answer, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. I will. That's a guarantee. But share this out, share Chris's website out, share Chris's Twitter account out. Everyone has an email list that they can blast out to. Just let everyone know. I mean, tell your friends. I'm going to irritate you with this guy, Chris Sky, for the next couple of days.
Well, I forgot. I forgot to mention. So everybody knows we're completely banned from media, including advertising. So we can't advertise on TV, radio, buses, even TTC. But I did find a company that is allowing us to advertise, and they have billboards around the city. So starting this week, you're going to see this face on 20-foot tall billboards across the city. And within the last week of the election, I'm going to be on 8 separate billboards around town because I got tired of people knocking down my signs. I saw people shooting my signs, ripping my signs down, throwing my signs in the garbage, burning my signs. Literally, people are sick in the head. But that's why. Go try to do that to the 20-foot tall billboard, guys.
Yeah, it's not going to work. Chris, final concluding statement for tonight.
Do not buy the media propaganda. It's all lies. All you need to do to get the result you want is vote number 82, Chris Sakocha. They're doing everything they're trying to do to me, not because I'm the underdog, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the protest candidate. I'm that candidate that actually represents the people. I'm that candidate that they fear. And most importantly, I'm that candidate that they know has the potential to absolutely crush them. So get out there, vote, make your voice heard, be part of the Chris Sky Army, and let's take this city back for the people. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic. So I guess we're going to see you next week for a couple of more minutes, huh?
Of course.
Looking forward to it. Chris, I love you, brother. You are the next mayor. You are the mayor of Toronto, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, sir. God bless you guys. Cheers.
Chris Sky, everybody, the next mayor of Toronto. It's always a pleasure to see him. Stefanos is still here. I was expecting you to have a cigarette in your mouth. What are you waiting for? All right. What are your what's your concluding statement for tonight, pal? Go ahead.
Just look, everybody look out. This is a little bit different, but I've been approached by many people, by their employers doing things they can't do. They've been salespeople, other people. They've been cutting wages, taking bonuses away, fixing their flat wages, taking bonuses. Like I said, all of these things are illegal. They cannot do that. So they're trying to use excuses such as it's only going to be for a month. That's because June 23rd it takes effect. And if they change your stuff and it comes the next month, you're stuck with it. So this is the Competitions Act that the federal government's brought in. So now they've taken it from a $25 million fine against the employer to now being criminal code charges. So, and you got to act right away or else those changes will stick. So just beware.
I agree. Thanks, brother, for being here. Well, that's it, folks, for tonight. We really do appreciate you all being here. Yeah, my personal opinion is these forest fires are arson, designed to get you to be afraid, to get you to move into the cities. And I highly recommend you don't do that because Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Winnipeg, they're all falling apart, and they're falling apart fast. And Edmonton is a dump. Don't go there. Vancouver is loaded with drug dealers and drug users and people dying on the streets from ODs. Why would you want to be in these places? So don't leave your rural home. Don't leave your suburban home. Do what you were told, and that is keep your property fireproof. Clean it up. Make sure that you can stay should there be a fire lit by Antifa in your neighborhood. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show, which runs every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Toronto time, 7 p.m. Calgary time, 6 p.m. Vancouver time. You'll always catch us live on our Rumble channel. Just type in Freedom Report, that one right there, .ca. Watch us on Rumble because Mark Zuckerberg is insane and Facebook keeps shutting us down. That's it, folks. I love you all, and good night.
Is the center of our gravity. Home is not a privilege that is granted by Her Majesty. A home is our right, a place to raise our family. Home is where we go for tranquility and sanctity. Home is where we feel at peace and we can have some privacy, where I can voice my thoughts and nobody tries to silence me. Home is where commotion turns to settling dust. Home is where we raise our kids to be better than us. And home is more than just a house. Home is where there's unity. Home is where we gather. Home is our communities. Home is the connection that we share when we trust. Home is not about me. Home is about us. Home is the guiding light within that we feel drawn to. Home is the source of our creation we belong to. Let them try with their lies meant to pull us apart. We always find our way home because we know it by heart.
All these long and lonely roads, they wind and bend. They find me friends, they lead me home. And I know love from high above, I'm not alone.
Home is our cities, our states and our countries. Home is the earth below, the sky above me. Home is the truth we instinctively know, helping us to find home everywhere that we go. But there's many false prophets trying to lead us astray, who want to tell us what to do but not hear what we say. They ignore us while they play their game of righteous pretend, like we don't notice that their rules ain't applying to them. While our children have lost their future, made to cover up their faces, forced to get injections for attendance at their favorite places. Where does it end? When we take to the streets, the government won't call a hearing, they just call the police. And to the faceless stormtroopers, where is your humanity? Just following orders is no excuse for your insanity. It's time to cut the rod out at the source like a cavity. It's time to go home and realize that we're a family.
All these long and lonely roads, they wind and bend, they find me friends, they lead me home. And I know no matter where I roam, I'm watching love from high above, I'm not alone.
Do you way you like to live, constantly harassed to put a mask upon your wife and kids. Cops with riot packs who like to act as if no rights exist. Alive, but we're not really living. What kind of life is this? The world is full of risks, but we don't need protection, cause all of their solutions are much worse than the infection. If we want resolution, we need unity, not politics. Why should we trust somebody who's broken so many promises? But maybe this was meant to be and had to happen all along. The cycle's always spinning and it's darkest right before the dawn. It's funny, to the point of laughing out loud, cause what they said would never happen, well it's happening now. And so many are waking up. Welcome to the front lines. The ones who know behind the clouds will always be the sunshine. You and I see through the lies, no longer alone, and let the compass in our souls guide and carry us home.
All these long and lonely roads, they wind and bend, they find me friends, they lead me home. And I know, no matter where I roam, I'm watching love from high above, I'm not alone. All these long, lonely roads lead me home. I'm watching love from high above, I'm not alone. All these long and lonely roads, they wind and bend, they find me friends, they lead me home. And I know, no matter where I roam, I'm watching love from high above, I'm not alone. Take me home.
Oh.